Preternatural Interviews, episode 6. I have lovely Jessica with me. She is another one of those individuals that just seem to be kind of a magnet for the preternatural. I think once you're kind of on that plane, once you vibrate with that frequency, it happens a lot. Just per usual, I have not heard her stories. These are all new to me as well. And I just would like to welcome Jessica. And I think some of her background, of what she does for work, who she is as a person, it's more of a lifestyle and a work situation that kind of lends to these types of situations. So that being said, Jessica, take it from here.
Yes. Awesome. Cool. Thank you. So I'm super excited about this because as I was telling John before, I literally probably have thousands of stories concerning the supernatural, the preternatural. And like I was saying, is that these things have just always naturally come to me. I just was born a very open person, I'm told. And so these things actually started occurring to me when I was a child. Like I'm one of those people that I would hear voices as a child. I would have premonitions that would come true. And it was just always very odd. And I never really knew what to make of it. I didn't grow up in a religious or spiritual household. So it was kind of just like, you're weird. But as I got older, I realized like, oh, wow, like there's a lot out there. And even though my first experiences, or most of my first experiences, not all of them, but most of my first experiences with the supernatural were kind of scary and more on the negative side, it actually ended up being a really beautiful thing because it brought me to spirituality and it made me realize that there is more out there and that something is going on beyond this world and this realm. And it actually made me become more spiritual and more religious so that I could become protected from some of the darker things that are out there. But
And
yeah, when I was young,
it's led you to your life's vocation. Is that correct? You're a spiritual healer as well.
yes, yes, exactly. So I was saying, yeah. So what I do for a living, that this has been so prevalent throughout my life. What I do for a living is I'm a yoga teacher. I am a holistic healer, an energy healer. I work with astrology, tarot, all kinds of stuff, and then of course spiritual guidance. And so this stuff just naturally flows in and out of my life, in my personal life, and it also comes about a lot of times in my sessions. Like I've I've done energy healing sessions on people that ended up becoming like exorcisms because
Oh wow.
I didn't I didn't know that's what it was going to be, but it just ended up happening because they had something attached to them. And the first time that ever happened, I was like really shocked, but then I was kind of like, okay, I guess this is something that I do now.
Oh wow.
And
So
yeah,
you're
so
just naturally drawn to. Is this something that is not learned? You were just kind of born with that, correct? In a way.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like what I'm told is that some people just have that, from what I've learned and read about for a long time now is that some people just have that extra sense, where it's just the veil between this world and the others is just much thinner for someone like me.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've had a
Very
lot of interesting experiences. Um, all throughout life. So whatever you want me to focus on in particular, I can take it anywhere.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, you've had so many experiences that we will probably have to maybe break this into a couple different pieces. But just in that vein, you've already kind of set us up for people being needing an exorcism or people having an attachment on them, people being empty vessels where maybe some other entity has filled that emptiness. Maybe a story. In fact, not even maybe. let's do either your first time experiencing encountering that, or just the most powerful time, the most noteworthy time, and then we'll leave you alone after
Okay. All right. Well, okay, so this is the thing is that probably my first experience was actually with a house, with a location. So you can do exorcisms on people, and then you can also do exorcisms of locations. And so I've done both. And when I did the exorcism of the location, I didn't really consider it an exorcism. I was just like, oh, I banished this spirit from this place. But then I realized later, once I did one on a person, and like, oh, that's what I did on that house. And now I know how
that.
to do this.
So in previous episodes, we talk about how there's negative energy or entities or all of the above attached to land. And then we've also talked about it. We haven't actually talked about it being attached to a person, but I think it's very similar just because a lot of times the land we're talking about will have anomalies. It'll either have an excessive amount of quartz or a strange electromagnetic anomaly.
Hmm.
But wow, this is some firsthand account of battling with some energy that was attached to land and then a person. So I just wanted to interject there because this connects up to some of the previous episodes, and for me, it's really fun because it's kind of like a triangulation of truth. People who don't know each other talking about very similar things, and I just want to see how it lines up. So not to meander too much on your topic,
Okay.
but so go right ahead.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I could definitely the experience with the person. Well, it's been multiple people now, but like the first person and the most powerful, I feel like I can shorten those. Like, so I can tell you maybe about the house first, and then that can help connect. You can compare it to the other the
Sure.
other episodes, and then I can kind of just maybe at the end talk about the person experiences and how it differs, if you want.
Sure. I tend to think there's certain elements when it's land and when it's a person that are similar. Like you kind of need whatever the entity is. It needs that iron in the blood. It needs the electromagnetic thing. It needs some sort of mineral, but it really also needs the water. Because I've talked to a lot of people about haunted houses or haunted places that didn't seem to be too active until they added a pool or until a pool of water was present.
Oh
And
wow.
even with the pyramids, those were very powerful. And when archaeologists look back, they're like, oh, all these pyramids were actually surrounded by water. So I like to hear the different stories because I think whether it's connected to land or to an animal or a human, I think all of those elements kind of have to come into play. So I may be proven wrong; it's just a hunch, but go ahead with your story. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, totally. That's funny. I've heard about the water and the quartz and the electromagnetic fields. I've never heard of people having it more when they install pools. That's really interesting. It's something to think about.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so well with mine, um, mine was specifically because the house that I lived in, and I know you went to Florida State, right? We met in Tallahassee?
No, I only know you from Facebook. I've only been to I went to Florida um, for a family reunion, which was awesome when I was down in the Keys. And then the only other time I was in Florida was for a layover to go to Central
Oh,
America.
okay.
But I feel like I belong in Florida because I feel like there's a Florida man headline in my future
Yeah, right.
somewhere.
For some reason, I felt like I met you in Florida. You seem like, and I mean this is a compliment. Other people would maybe not think so, but you seem like you're someone that would be from Florida.
Yeah, no, I definitely have that vibe. But I also think we're kind of like kindred souls in the fact that, or sorry, what's this?
Yeah.
No, but I feel like I've been trying to collect I'm going to edit this out. I feel like I've been trying to collect my star family. And
Mm.
I've been doing it in weird ways, and this way of just asking for interviews with people and then having random people come up to me. I've connected with. I have Scotch, Irish, and Mexican blood, and I've connected with this guy John, who's Scottish Gypsy, and like we're super connected. And then people like Native Americans, and so I feel like I had this whim 2 months ago to be like, I need to start this channel, and it turned into like a collecting of like I believe in astrotheology, and I'm a Christian, but I feel like I'm collecting my star family right now, which
I
is
love that. I totally believe in that too as well. And it's so funny you're talking about how the Scotch Irish thing. I'm 80% Scottish Irish.
oh nice. Okay. All right.
Yeah, according to our family's blood work. But yeah, the rest of it's like Eastern European and like Asian, and of course everyone's African to some degree. But yeah, that's really cool. I think there is something definitely about that, because I'm sure, as you know, um, the Scottish Irish people, the Celtic traditions were very into the mystical and the supernatural for a very long time. So I think it kind of runs in our blood.
And so my other side, which is Mexican and Native American, but my last name is Basque, and they say they come from the sunken Green Isle of Atlantis.
Oh
And then
wow.
the Celtic that are the same. They say they're the remnants of Atlantis, and that's why they have a connection to the Egyptian uh, the royalty, in the Egyptian royalty.
Oh my gosh,
And
I
so
never heard that.
It'd be
Wow, that's so
after
cool.
this. I'll send you a cool anthropology, like a really short. He does a study on an old Celtic poem about a princess of Egypt who ended up in Ireland.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's all connected. I
That's
mean,
so cool.
actually, this is interesting. I probably won't edit. I won't edit this out because I think this will lend to whatever. I have a feeling this will lend to whatever you're going to talk about. So proceed,
Yeah,
please.
okay, cool. I love it. I would love to get those articles. That's so interesting, so cool, because it's always stuck out to me that the Irish Scottish people, especially Scottish, I feel, are so different, like extremely different than almost any other type of European cultures. It's like
Yeah.
we really are from another place.
The same way the Basque are from another place,
Yeah, yeah.
and then me being mixed race, I'm Irish and Mexican, so but Scotch Irish and then Mexican with a Basque last name. I've had like fortune tellers come up to me 3 different times. Come on in. Hold on, I got my kid, but
All good.
but 3 different times say you're not of this world. You're Pleiadian. They always said Pleiadian, and then I
Yep,
think that's
yep.
connected. There's one out there for you. Jeez, I'll edit this out. Give me 1 second.
All good. Hmm, better.
Here you go. Sorry,
Oh,
trying to
all good.
doing the single
You
dad
you
thing.
might hear my parents coming in telling me that they're tired of watching my dogs. So
Okay, I know you got the clock ticking on you too. So, um,
yeah.
let's get to whatever story you
Story.
want to tell.
Okay.
What is this? Roll the
Cool.
dice.
Awesome. All right. So I'll start with the Tallahassee house possession, because I feel like that was such a like tutorial and such a beginning in me harnessing these powers that I have, and taking it to the next level. Like before this experience, I was very much just a before this experience, I was very much just like a witness and kind of, like I said, like scared. I was just like, like what's going on? Why is this always happening to me? And sometimes it was pleasant, but when it wasn't pleasant, I was very scared. I didn't know how to control it. I didn't know how to communicate it with it. I didn't know how to banish things. I just kind of like avoided it or stayed up all night or turned my light on, and just
Yeah.
did weird things to cope. So this happened. I was going to Florida State. I was 21. I had just turned 21, and I was living like in my own real like house. It was a rented house, but out of the dorms, out of apartment life, and I was super excited to live in this house. But it was real. It was a 2-bedroom house, really beautiful, really amazing, front and back porch, all that. But it was super cheap. And I was kind of wondering why it was so cheap, but I was like, oh, whatever, it's a good deal. And it was across from a graveyard, of course.
Oh. Okay.
So I was like, maybe that's why. I was like, maybe people are freaked out by living across from a graveyard, but like, whatever. I'm not freaked out by that. It'll be fine. And so the first month living there, I didn't have anything too crazy happening. It was just like a feeling, that feeling that I had felt before in my life of something watching you, where I definitely knew something was watching me. Yeah. And I definitely could feel it. And then slowly over time, the level of what was happening was increasing. So I would hear footsteps down the hallway, and I would open my door, and my roommate, she'd be in bed, and there would be no one there. And same thing happened to her. She would hear footsteps, think it was me in the middle of the night. And it was an really old house, so you could hear like everything. So we kind of just, stick our head out, see what was going on.
Was it single story or double story?
It was single.
Okay.
It was single, but it was lifted, so there was space underneath the house.
Oh, so okay. So
yeah,
it's accentuated.
Yeah. And so so that was going on, and so that was kind of like the beginning of it all. And she would look out and not see me, and then she had an experience where everything flew off of her dresser one night, just in the middle of the night. Everything flew off her dresser. I had way crazier experiences, so that was crazy enough for her, but my experiences were like way crazier, because once again, these spirits know that I can hear them, and they know that I can talk to them, so I think they visited me more in that situation.
Did they know your name?
Yes, they did, actually. Yeah, not right at first, but eventually, yeah. But yeah, they would say my name in my ear. They would whisper it in my ear. But it started with scratching. It would scratch on the walls.
Oh, wow.
Really loud.
Would you ever find evidence of scratches?
No, actually.
Okay.
I have in the past with other situations, but not with that one.
Okay.
But that was good. I was glad that it seemed like it was not really touching me physically, but it was definitely very, very, very supernatural, very, very obvious, very prevalent. Also my closet door would just open up randomly all of a sudden. But the weirdest thing, the most obvious thing, and that actually someone that I was dating at the time actually witnessed as well. It happened at night and in broad daylight, because people started thinking I was crazy. They're like, just, I don't know, this is like a lot of stuff. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't sleep last night. I can't go out tonight. I barely slept last night. Like the ghost kept me up all night. They're like, okay, she's going crazy. Like you're smoking too much weed, or something. And
yeah.
And I was like, no, you guys, like it's real. Like come over, you'll see. And so this guy I've been dating, he started staying over a little bit more, and he started to witness it. So one of the things that we witnessed together was we both kept hearing in our ears on like several nights where it would get in our ear and just say, go. It would whisper like, go. Like trying to get us to leave, I guess.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, what it was. And then one of the nights, on the same night, we both had images of people being shown to us, like old-timey pictures and old-timey people being shown to us.
Oh wow.
And it was really weird. And we talked about it afterwards. Some of them were the same people, some of them weren't. We were like, oh, I saw that guy too. And he did not believe in these things.
Like, for example, what era? Were they like Spanish conquistadors, or they were like Victorian, or what era?
Yeah, like Victorian, and maybe a slightly older too, because the graveyard, so yeah, I should mention that. The graveyard across the street was like early 1800s.
Okay.
like late 1700s to late 1800s. That was like the span of time. And sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, was there anything they were trying to communicate to you that was like a theme? Like,
Well, it was weird because I felt like it was like different. I feel like they were just trying to be recognized, honestly, and like show us in that experience. So I felt like that wasn't that bad. That was like kind of a little bit positive in a way, because it was just like that wasn't anything scary. It was just them like showing us who they were. So that wasn't that bad. It was kind of cool. We were like, whoa, it was weird, all the synchronicities that we had when we talked about it. Um, but I think that was unrelated to the one spirit that was like demonic, which is the one I had to exorcise and banish. That was in the house. So the house, definitely being across the street from a graveyard, was a place for these spirits to come visit.
mm-hmm.
But I think most of them were benevolent. There was this one that was definitely very mean spirited, very demonic, and very violent.
What were first of all, what were some of your experiences with them? But second of all, is there an image that goes along with the demonic entity, or you never saw him?
I actually never saw. Okay. I never saw the demonic entity, but and I actually brought over one of my friends who's very psychic as well. Same as me. She had always seen things and heard things since she was a kid. And I brought her over, and because I wondered what she would pick up on, and she couldn't even stay in the house for more than 10 minutes. She was like, I'm so sorry, Jesse, I have to leave. She was like, this is really intense. She said she didn't see, I asked her if she saw anything. She didn't see anything, but we both felt like energetically we could see like just like a dark space in the living room corner of my living room. Okay. And that also, and she didn't know this beforehand, but that was also the corner that my cat at the time would always stare at and growl at.
Okay.
And so, yeah. Yeah, the cat was like obsessed with that corner, but like not in a good way. To really, like, he was really like trying to keep something at bay there. And as I'm sure you know, cats can see those things. It's really common in these types of stories.
Yes.
And yeah. And so she was like, Jesse, it's not just like, I can handle just regular spirits. She was like, but this is something really demonic. It's really angry. It doesn't want you here. It doesn't want us here. Like, I'm getting out. I don't want to stay somewhere where something doesn't want me here that bad. It feels violent. And I was like, wow, I feel the same thing, because it always says go in my ear. It scratches on the wall. It's like a very demonic scratching sound. Oh, I heard growling too. I heard growling a few times. And it would always open doors. And like one time, the same person that I was dating saw this too. Of the doorknob, we actually saw at nighttime and in the daytime, the doorknob to my door being fully closed. And this is like a heavy door, like old 100-year-old house. Like, things were made really solid then, you know? And the doorknob literally turned like all the way around, like 180 degrees.
Wow.
And the door would open.
Okay.
Like, because people will be like, oh, it's the wind, or what if your roommate, you know, shut the door and then that caused your door to open. I'm like, no, that doesn't turn doorknobs.
Now this entity is trying to be bold, and it's hard to tell. It sounds either like a poltergeist or a Wendigo. A poltergeist is something that can control a house. It's tied to the land, and I guess there's some blurred lines with Wendigo, but I mean, it's hard to define these things. I'm just trying to figure it out in my head. But yeah, it was, and it was just that one. Was there ever, just out of curiosity, a little girl, a ghost attached with any of this, or no?
I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I mean, I definitely felt a child's presence in the house before. Yeah. Like, I definitely felt multiple times like ghost children in the house, girl and boy, but they seemed kind of just like lost. And I would, you know, that's like something else I do, is like I like heal the ghost.
Get them to the light.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you're just lost, you know, like go here, go there, you know, you died, I'm so sorry, but like just go to where you need to go. And
just
like
be,
giving them love. Huh?
yeah, just because in my experience, sometimes when they have these demonic entities, they'll have these like trapped actual human spirits, and they're usually innocent kids, and they'll use them as
Oh.
like bait. They'll use them as their communicator or as bait. And that's only from personal experiences. I don't want to read
Oh
into
wow.
it.
I bet that's what it was then. That he was I kind of wondered that too at the time of like this demonic spirit is definitely very different than these other ghost spirits that I'm experiencing, and I
Mhm.
wonder if somehow he is bringing them here. I wasn't sure of the connection, but it seemed like it was connected sometimes.
This is just
But
my own experience, but I don't think they're bringing them here. I think they're just stopping them from getting to the other side because they're so innocent. He's like, no, you're still part of this world. I'm like, really? And then they're these little lost souls. But that's
wow.
just my own experience. I don't want to read into yours because um,
Yeah. I mean, I
uh,
feel that sounds true to me.
did
Um,
was anyone's behavior ever like changed within that house, or just the house itself? What was kind of
yeah, actually. Um, the Well, I feel like it changed my behavior. I feel like it made me depressed,
mm,
and I hadn't really experienced like a long-term depression. Like we all experience like ups and downs, you know, but I hadn't really experienced a long-term depression until living in that house, like 2, 3 months long. And like feeling like almost like suicidal at certain times. And it was like really weird because I was like, I don't feel like actually like I am suicidal, but there's like this weird like thought that comes to me sometimes that I should be. And I quickly realized though, I'm like, this is that spirit. It's trying to infiltrate me, and it's trying to tell me this because it probably wants to take me with it, you
yeah.
know? And so I just kind of like survived through it. And just anytime like I said, I realized pretty quickly after like maybe like 2, 3 weeks. And so whenever I'd have those feelings, I'd be like, nope, it's just that spirit, you know, just ignore it. And you're not going to get the best of me. I'm going to defeat you. You're not going to do this to anyone else. I don't know how to defeat you, but I'm going to. Um,
You're
and so,
probably guided there by light, the angels of light or whatever, to help kind of heal that. Was your cat ever, did your cat's behavior change other than being
yes.
very angry at the corner?
Yeah. Yeah, he always, I mean, honestly, this cat actually just passed just like actually a month or two ago.
Oh.
But yeah, he had a good run. But yeah, he actually was very like disturbed and skittish and scared for like honestly like 2 or 3 years after that experience. And when I first got him as a kitten, he was not like that. So for a little while, I kind of wondered if he was like possessed, but I think he was just experiencing like PTSD because I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I banished that spirit. But I was like, what if I banished it into my cat? I was like, no, I think like this crazy stuff would still be going on if I did. I think the cat is just has really bad PTSD from all
Yeah.
of this.
And I'm definitely going to have you back, but in the interest of time, um, let will you just describe what happened during that banishment ritual? Was it something prescribed, or was it something that was kind of intuitive to you, or a little bit of both, or what happened?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a little bit of both. The kind of breaking point for me to really do like I'd already been like intuitively doing it. And it was definitely like, I was like kind of testing it, you know, it was like me training myself of like how to do this. And I would notice certain things that would work and not work. And so I continued with the things that worked and continued to refine the process. One is, you know, just like imagining yourself covered in white light, golden light, and like really defeating fear. And that's the thing is actually I realized is that in a way it kind of was a weird blessing because it forced me to transcend that feeling of fear, because it was like if I have any fear, this being is going to feed off of it and it's going to defeat me and it's going to stay here in this place. But if I know that I'm more powerful, like then I will win and this thing will leave. And so that was like a big thing for me, was like transcending that fear. And so I noticed also things that I would say would help a lot too. Like I would say things out, especially out loud, and people sometimes think, just saying in your mind, but saying it out loud, it really is necessary.
It lends to authority. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
exactly. So,
only the good entities, and I don't want to spread my own belief system into this, but I think only God and Jesus can read your thoughts, whereas the demons need you to say it out loud. And then something that happened to me when I was battling some entities, I felt like there was a benevolent um, um, energy or archangel that was assigned to me, and I knew his name. Was there any sort of like, did you get any sort of spiritual backup that you felt like you were attuned to during that time?
yeah, well, that was my thing. Is like I was raised once again in a non-religious, non-spiritual household, very much like a household of science and
Yeah.
reason. And I always tell my parents, I'm like, I am like I am the way I am because the way you guys were. Like I'm you guys is like.
Well, don't forget, it blurs. So the father of the scientific method was just a soldier, and when he was in a pit in, I believe he was a German soldier, and I believe he was in France. Could have this wrong, but he was an uneducated soldier, and he came up with a scientific method because an angel descended to him and gave it to him, and that right.
Wow.
And so
I
there's
did not know that. That's so cool.
and then check this out. The first seven archangels are the first seven planets that are closest to the sun, and they're spread out mathematically in the same way that the seven notes are spread out and of music, and that
Wow.
the seven colors are spread out. So there is
Wow.
a gray area between science and the mystic that people.
To- totally.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's something that they've actually they're like have come to learn over time because of me being their daughter. But that's really cool. I send me if you have an article on all that. Send me an article on all that because that would be really cool to
I
hear.
will. No, who started me off on that is Terrence McKenna. I was listening to Terrence McKenna, and he was like, um, "I'm Terrence McKenna, and you realize that shoot, I forget the father of the scientific method, but he was just like he was a soldier, and an angel came to him. And then if you listen to other scientists, they're considered alchemists, like in the John Kelly and all them in the court of the Queen
Yeah, the
Elizabeth.
early days. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know where they got their black mirror, where they would talk to angels, and they actually transcribed the angelic language. It said an angel descended to him and gave him the obsidian that was from the Aztec Empire.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
so madness and insanely focused sanity, mysticism, and the scientific method meet at
Right?
at a 0 point. So I think there's no accident in this cosmos, and you were put into your family in order to bridge that gap. You're a bridge.
Yes, I like that. Bridge, yes. Very much so.
Yeah,
That's cool. But yeah, so basically this experience was really what made me start getting more into religion and like calling on the like Jesus and the angels and things. I started doing more research, and through the research, it was always like, bring in the cross, say this prayer. And so I would do it and it would always work. And I was
yeah.
just like, you know what? I was like, this is it for me. Like it's all confirmed now, Because at first
And
I was like, it's just like, okay, maybe obviously this is all happening to me throughout my life, but I don't know, the exact like what exactly I believe structurally. And then after doing all of that, I was like, whoa, okay, Jesus is definitely real. The angels are definitely real. And that was a huge part of me being able to banish this spirit. Um, and then also I had help from a friend. So one of my best friends since I was, like 6 years old, spent the night in that house, and I'd been telling her about all these experiences, and she didn't believe me. she was actually brought up very Christian, and it scared her. She was like, "No, this sounds like the devil. I don't want to hear it." And and but one night she spent the night with me. She slept on the couch in the living room. I tried to warn her. I was like, "You can sleep in my same bed." And she was like, "No, no, I'll just sleep out here." So I was like, "Okay." She woke up in the middle of the night, knocked on my door, and was like, "Jesse, I am getting out of here. We've been drinking the night before." And she was like, I was like, it was like, I'm like, Callie, I'm like, it's like way too early. We just went to bed 3 hours ago. Like, it's way too early to go home. And she goes, "I would rather take my chances on the road than deal with this shit." She goes, "This is fucked up. I can't believe you live here. I can't believe you've been doing this the whole time.
Did
This
she
is really
ever
fucked up,
did
Jesse."
she ever give you a synopsis of what happened to her that brought her to that
Yes.
decision?
And honestly, her experience is one of the craziest. And funny enough, when her brother spent the night, because I was good friends with both of them, when her brother spent the night, also funny enough too, they're also are their ancestry is also predominantly Scottish Irish.
There we go.
um,
Soul
but when
family, I'm
they
telling you.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But when they both spent the night, they both had two of the craziest experiences of anybody there besides me and my ex. They both were her brother was talked to the whole time, and her brother was told things like me, like to kill himself, and also the spirit saying, "I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna fucking kill you," and say things like that, and like a really low demonic, grumbly sort of voice. And he got really freaked out, and he basically, like, we woke up in the morning, he was just sitting on the couch, like looking around, like, I barely slept.
It's like
um
catatonic PTSD right there at that point.
yeah. And then when she spent the night, because actually that happened first, and he told her about it, but she once again still didn't believe it. She was like, she's like a very sort of like stubborn person.
Yeah.
She's full of redheads. She's like one of those typical like stubborn redheads. And love her.
Probably
The
Scotch Irish probably. There's something
Totally.
in the blood. Yeah.
Yes, and she was like, "Nope, I don't believe in that. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I don't believe in these devil things." Like,
And here's
it's just,
something funny. The person, I can't tell you, but someone who's very close to me, who's related, who's redhead Scotch Irish, who's had the most amount. Like she told sorry, don't want to out her, them. Damn it. They told me that dead people come to them when they're confused to help guide them to the light or whatever. And
wow.
I believe it has to do with our bloodline. But and I know you're short on time, and I'm
Yes.
using Zoom. I want to just know the process of your banishment. It probably came from your heart, and probably also from however you were raised, and some just, I don't know. Just tell me how it happened,
Yes.
how you felt, and because I'm getting goosebumps because I want to tell you my experience of something where I banished, and an angel came to me and told me their name is Gabriel, and told
Oh,
me that
wow.
and that's why I'm out here blowing the horn. I'm doing their work here on earth, blowing the horn by interviewing people like you. So tell me how the banishment process was.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, so it was after that last friend's experience. So to just end that, she actually got strangled by this being,
Wow.
and she woke up gasping for air. And she said, "Jesse, it really felt like I was gonna die. Like, I believe that thing can kill people." And that's what she said. And she was like, "You're not safe there." She was like, "I know you've been, experimenting, and you've been making more progress." She was like, "But I think that, like, you've sent it away from you more, but it's still there, and it could, like, really hurt people." She was like, "We got to get to the bottom of this." So we started doing more research, and we basically just found like a banishment spell online, and then I basically used my own intuition and all the things I had learned, and my newfound spirituality and faith. And yeah, we did we did salt. We did the salt ritual. We did a ring of salt
That
in the
works.
living
That
room.
really does work. Yeah.
It does. It does. We did sage. We saged the whole house, windows open, and the whole time just saying prayers, and just saying, like you're not welcome here. Go back to where you're supposed to be, which I believe that being was meant to be in hell, and
Yeah.
it just was like avoiding it or coming out from it. And so I was saying, like, go back to wherever you're meant to be, and like God send this being back to where it's meant to be. But that feeling I had was that versus the other spirits that were meant to go in the higher realms, this spirit was meant to go back into the lower realms. And so it
Hmm.
very much felt that way. It felt very different. And so yeah, like it just, once again, like, yeah, connecting to my heart space, connecting to God, connecting to Jesus, saying all types of different prayers from the Bible. Banish, like especially the ones focusing on like banishing evil and being stronger. Evil cannot touch us, those types of things. Protection prayers. And we just said, like, you're not welcome here. You need to go back. And then so we did salt all over the house, but then we did a salt circle in the living room, and we sat inside of it so that we would be protected. And then we just said like all these prayers, and I just closed my eyes and I visualized it being banished. And it it was.
And when it was like, did it look different? Did it feel different? Was it daytime? Like, tell us about when at the
Yeah,
aftermath.
it was dusk, so it was like sunset, which I also heard is a good time to do the banishments, because
Yeah.
it's like the sun setting, the endings. um and yeah, I just felt like this like extreme just like pain and like anger. I just felt this extreme anger from this being, like it really hated me. And it kind of it like for a moment I was like, oh my gosh, like this being is never going to forget me. Do I really want do I really.
You just so you know, you have power over it. We've already won. Like it doesn't need to forgive you. You forgive it for its anger.
Exactly. And I was like, you know what? This is like what it's meant to be. He can't harm anyone anymore. I was like, you're never welcome back here again. Like let God send you back to where you belong, and you will never harm another spirit again. You're banished from this realm.
That's beautiful.
And I just felt this extreme pain, and then it just kind of like was like quiet and lifted, and then everything felt just like much lighter in the air. Yeah.
And that's when you had the poltergeist moment where you're like, this house is clear.
Yeah. Pretty much.
No, and I know I joke a lot, but whenever I feel that, and I know I call on, I guess when I call on powers, Gabriel comes, but whenever I say in Jesus' name, oh my gosh,
Yep.
everything clears out. It's just like I feel I could feel it this close to me. I could say in Jesus' name. I just start saying it, and it's like, and it's funny because I was raised very secular too, and science and stuff,
Hmm.
and I've always been a strange kid. Had warm hands, or whatever. Could do Reiki, could do this and that,
Uh-huh.
and man, as soon as I aligned myself with Jesus, my life just finally came together. Because I don't know, I feel like I came from that other dark demonic side, and then in this lifetime came to this side in order to have a different point of view. And now my life's mission is to try and heal that side. Like I had an extra row of teeth and stuff. I have all these Nephilim shit. Um, I
Wow.
don't want to get too much into it, but like I've always had just a darker demeanor. I've just, always been pulled towards that dark side. But and it's funny because I'm hosting a story called, Preternatural interviews, and but I gotta say, like, that's Jesus is the light, is the way, and I didn't learn it until I got so dark into it that I needed to call on Jesus to come out of it, and I was like, okay, wow. I'm like, and
Yeah.
so to hear, obviously I don't want to put words in your mouth, but to hear a story that's very parallel in this story arc to where I've gone is like that. Just these interviews are healing in that way, and I hope they get out to the rest of the world to be like, hey, if I'm experiencing this, I'm not wrong. I might just be an antenna for things that are wrong, and there is a way to come to the light and to heal all this stuff. And so, thank you so much for your input, and I definitely need to have you as a return guest here, Jessica.
Yes. Yeah, I know I didn't get into the people exercises, but we'll do that. We'll do that next time. But yeah, thank
Yeah,
you for sharing all that with me. That's so cool. And I love the way you worded it all. Like I couldn't agree more. Same thing. Something I always tell people is that yeah, if you call on Jesus' name, like he literally will never fail you. Like I have not one time where Jesus saying his name has ever failed me. And that's really powerful because there are other things, that spiritual things, spiritual practices that I have called on that do help, they aid, but it never banishes the dark spirits like Jesus' name. It's like
no,
it's
yeah.
beautiful.
I was a very dark, hateful, skeptical person, and when I realized these entities weren't we there was no camaraderie. They were just trying to digest me. I was being
Mhm.
eaten, and then I called on Jesus. I realized it was beyond any church show you can see, and it's real, and the darkness is real, and I hope through this show, um, just your interview here, your testimony here will bring people to the light, and I'm confident that it will. So thank you so much for your time.
Yay. Yes. Thank you. I agree. Yeah, you can't hear these stories and and not, I think, realize that the darkness is real and that the way out of the darkness, that there's a very clear path that always works. And
Yeah,
when so many people say it over and over again, it has to be true.
yeah, and that's fine because I've been described as crazy, and you can just think of me as crazy, and that's fine. But it's just crazy enough to work. Remember those like 1980s sitcoms or
Yeah.
the 18? That plan is just crazy enough to work. Well, like there we go. But so that was just scratching the surface of what you've experienced and what you could bring to the table. So I'm sure we're going to circle back. And with all my guests, they always have the first interview, and then they're like, "Oh, and I've totally forgot about this." So,
Yeah.
so feel free to reach back, and we'll make this another healing practice for you that can echo throughout the universe as your good works. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and I'm going to go ahead and edit this. I'm going to stop recording right now.